Welcome to our deep dive into the world of Linux security. We'll be taking a look at a document full of practice questions and explanations for the 303-300 exam.
Right, but don't worry, even if you're not planning on taking the exam, we're going to be focusing on practical skills.
Yeah, think of it as a crash course in keeping your system secure.
Yeah, like really locked down, we'll be looking at real-world stuff like encrypting your sensitive data and even building your own firewalls.
Okay, let's jump into the first question then. This one's all about GNAPG, GPG, and creating a key pair with GPG Gen key.
Okay.
Can you explain why this is so crucial for secure communication? I mean, what's the big deal about these key pairs?
Well, imagine you're sending a confidential document to someone. You wouldn't just send it in plain text where anyone could read it, right?
Right.
GPG uses public key cryptography, which is basically like a lockbox for your data.
Okay.
You have a public key that you can share with anyone. That lets them send you encrypted messages.
So it's like giving someone the combination to a lock, but they can only use it to put things in the box, not take them out.
Exactly. And then you have a private key, which is like your own secret code to open the box and decrypt the messages.
Gotcha.
So even if someone intercepts the message, they can't read it without your private key.
That's pretty clever. So this GPG Gen key command is basically creating that public-private key pair.
Precisely. And this type of encryption is used everywhere, not just for emails. Like software downloads, how do you know if the file you're downloading is actually from the developer?
Yeah, right.
And it hasn't been messed with. Developers can digitally sign their software with GPG, and you can use their public key to verify the signature.
Interesting. So it's really ensuring that you're getting the real deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. I never realized how widely used GPG is. Okay, so let's move on to question 2, which goes into password security and the eclogan.defs file. There are parameters like pass max days and pass warnage. Can you explain what these mean and how they contribute to strong password policies?
Sure. These parameters are all about enforcing good password hygiene. Weak or guessable passwords are a huge vulnerability, and attackers are always trying to exploit them.
Yeah, for sure.
Pass max days sets a limit on how long a password can be used before it expires and forces users to change it regularly. This helps prevent attackers from reusing stolen passwords.
So it's like a best before date for your password.
Exactly. And then pass warmage lets users know that their password's about to expire so they don't get caught off guard.
Okay, that's helpful because I know I've definitely ignored those password expiration reminders before.
Yeah.
Easy to just forget about it.
It's easy to forget until it's too late. We've all heard about those big data breaches with millions of accounts compromised, right?
Yeah.
Often these breaches can be traced back to weak password policies or users not following basic security practices.
So these parameters in eclosion.defs are really about minimizing those risks.
Precisely. It's not just about setting those parameters, though. It's about knowing why they're important and how they make the system more secure.
That's a great point. It's easy to get lost in technical details, but really it's all about protecting ourselves.
Exactly.
Now, question 3 takes us to web servers and Apache. It mentions the SSLP protocol directive and something about using only the latest TLS versions. Can you explain why this is so crucial for secure web traffic?
Well, TLS is kind of like the language of secure communication on the web. When you visit a website using HTTPS, your browser and the web server use TLS to encrypt the data that's being transmitted between them. This stops people from snooping and protects sensitive info like login credentials.
So TLS is like a secret code that only my browser and the web server know.
You got it. But like any language, TLS has evolved over time. Older versions like TLS 1.0 and 1.1, we found out, have some vulnerability.
Oh, if they're not as secure as they used to be.
Right. Attackers can exploit those.
So using the latest TLS versions is like making sure we're speaking the most up-to-date version of this secret language.
Exactly. The configuration mentioned in the question, SSLT protocol AL plus PLSV 1.2 plus TLSV 1.3, disables all protocols first, and then specifically enables only TLS 1.2 and 1.3, the most secure. Essentially, you're shutting the door on any attacks targeting older TLS versions.
Makes a lot of sense. It's like updating your software, patching those security holes.
Exactly.
Okay, question 4 introduces the Linux auditing system and the audit service. Sounds pretty serious. Can you break down what this service does?
Okay.
And why it's important?
Think of audit as a security guard for your entire system.
Okay.
It logs security-related events, like who logged in, what files they accessed, and even attempts to change system settings.
So it's like a detailed record of everything that happens.
Exactly. This is valuable for a few reasons. First, if you think your system's been compromised, those audit logs can be super helpful. They help you trace the attacker's steps, figure out what data was accessed or modified, and basically understand what happened.
It's like a security camera that records everything, even if you didn't see the actual incident.
That's a great analogy. Audit isn't just about reacting to incidents, though. It can also be used proactively. By analyzing the logs, you can see patterns of suspicious activity that might be a sign of an attack.
So it's not just a detective tool, but also an early warning system.
Precisely. For example, let's say you see a sudden spike in failed login attempts from a weird IP address. That could be a sign that someone is trying to brute force their way into your system. You can see these attempts in the logs and take steps to block the attacker.
That's awesome. It seems like audit is essential for anyone serious about Linux security. Okay, let's wrap up this first part of our deep dive with question 5, which looks at NFTables. It's a framework for managing firewall rules. Specifically, the question asks about a command to block outgoing traffic to a particular IP address. What are the implications of blocking traffic like this, and why would you want to do it?
Well, blocking a single IP isn't always a complete solution, but it can be a really useful tactic sometimes. Let's say you find malicious activity from a specific IP. Blocking it can act as a temporary shield while you figure out what's going on and figure out a long-term solution.
So it's like a quick fix while you're working on a permanent solution.
Exactly. But NFTables can do way more than just blocking individual IPs. You can create rules based on IP ranges, ports, protocols, even the time of day. This allows you to build a firewall that's tailored to your needs.
That sounds powerful, but also pretty complex.
It can be, but the key is to start with a solid understanding of your network and what you're trying to protect. You know, what traffic should be allowed, what should be blocked.
Right.
Once you know that, you can build your firewall strategically.
Makes sense. It's like designing a security perimeter for a physical building.
Yeah.
You need to figure out where to put the gates, fences, and cameras.
Perfect analogy. And just like with physical security, you need to update your firewall rules as new threats come up.
And I'm excited to keep learning and exploring.
That's great to hear. Security is an ongoing journey.
Yeah.
New threats are emerging all the time, so it's essential to stay informed, stay vigilant, and never stop learning.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep learning, and stay secure.